much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking me to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I am Marguerite Belizaire. I'm a minister, fairly new in the vocation. I've been doing this for about 5 years now. I grew up in Miami, but left years and years ago as a young adult and said, never again. I think primarily the heat, but here I am. I find myself back here and I feel pretty much at home here. So I think there's something about where you grew up that kind of draws you back.
For those unfamiliar with the Unitarian tradition, can you explain what a Unitarian church is?
Yeah, we are, as that last word in there mentioned, we are a church. We are a little bit different and that we do believe that the beloved community is here and now, not unlike what the Reverend Martin Luther King talked about. And it is our responsibilities as human beings on this earth to be, to work on being the best human being that we can be. And to advocate for those who are marginalized, those who are less fortunate than ourselves. So there are two prongs really to us: the spiritual work, grounding ourselves into truth and meaning, and what sustains us spiritually, and then there's our call to justice work. And that's any kind of justice work. Living here in Florida for us at First Unitarian Church in Orlando, and the year that it's been. So we feel that we will probably spend a lot of our year this year advocating for trans rights and the rights for Black history to be taught in schools and so on, because we do feel those things are important.
How did the Unitarian movement start and what are its foundational beliefs?
Interestingly, we started in Transylvania, of all places, in the 1500s, when the Edict of Torda issued really the first freedom of religion edict, where it made it possible for churches like us who are non-Trinitarians or Unitarians, as opposed to the Trinity, we're Unitarians, and so that edict, the Torah of 15 in the 1500s, made it possible for us to have our start. All that to say, we started as fully as a Christian faith that had both, that didn't believe in Trinity and in hell, and that no loving God would have its children tormented for eternity in hell. So we started there fully Christian with a strong sense of justice work. And over the years, we have moved quite significantly away from Christianity solely. So, all that to say, there are Unitarians who are Christians, there are Unitarians who are atheists, there are Unitarians who are somewhere in between Buddhist, Muslim. The work falls on the individuals to figure out what it is that sustains them, but it is done in community. We have a responsibility to accompany one another in that work, to challenge one another in that work, because spiritual work is it's not neutral, it's active. It's something that we need to engage on a regular basis. What are the things that we believe? The meaning of life. What do we believe um, caused us to be here, to be born, and what is our work here? Uh, it is our individual work to figure that out, but it is a church community, so we support one another in that work, encourage, and so really that's how where we started, and that's where we are today.
Could you tell us about your journey into ministry and what drew you to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando?
I was raised Jehovah's Witness, which is a complete departure. If you know anything about Jehovah's Witness, or if our audience knows anything about Jehovah's Witness, it's a complete departure, except that Jehovah's Witnesses are also Unitarians and they don't believe in the Trinity and so on. But that's how I was raised. And as I became a teenager, older teen, I realized that a lot of the theology or what I was being taught didn't fully resonate with how I was living life. And so eventually I left that faith And it took years really for me to find my way back into a religious space. It always felt like I needed to leave a part of myself at the door and come in, or had to pretend and play along because there were a lot of things that just didn't make sense to me. I thought there was just too much divisiveness, too much exclusion. I didn't feel like there was room for everyone to be able to show up fully, is how they were made, how they so eventually, a friend of mine who knew that I was looking for a religious community because I just couldn't find one said to me, "You know, you're a Unitarian Universalist. You know that." I'd never heard of it. So I said, "Oh, okay, whatever." So I kind of put that aside. And a year later, I met her for breakfast, and it was a Sunday. And on the way home, she's like, "Well, you should check it out." And I did, and I haven't looked back really. And then as I engaged that particular faith, and I realized that I have always had a call to ministry. I remember as a young Jehovah's Witness feeling that call. However, in that particular faith, women can't be ministers or speak from the pulpit, and they don't have ministers in the true sense of the word either. So the more I was part of the Unitarian faith, the more I felt my call to ministry and could see the possibility in it. And I think so. There is that call. I think I've always had. And another thing about the Unitarian Universalist faith is there is really a low representation of people of colors, of Black people, and I found it to be a life saving faith, and I wanted to be able to represent so that other people who look like me may want to check it out. Like, huh, I wonder if there's something to that. And to have a visible space, because I do believe that representation matters, to have a visible space where, and not only have a visible space where others can see me and say, huh, maybe I want to check it out, but also have a space where I have a voice. And I felt that I could, because I felt I had something to say. I I felt right to accompany people on their spiritual journey. And so for all those different reasons, I went to ministry, and that's really what my path has been, and it just feels like this is where I've needed to be my whole life. This was the vocation that's been calling me my whole life. Yeah.
And how do these manifest in your daily ministry and within the community?
Well, with for us as Unitarian Universalists, the spiritual work I think is a little bit harder than another faith that has a creed, right? We're non-creedal. So it is up to us as a community and up to the individual to figure out what it is that sustains them spiritually, right? And so, in community, as a minister in this faith, I think it is particularly important that I encourage and invite members to pay attention to that, to pay attention to what grounds them, to question, to find resources, to really find the way to be solid in their spiritual belief, to be grounded in it, so that because I do think that justice work has to be the justice work we do anyways, Unitarian Universalists, has to be grounded in our values and in our beliefs. And if we're not doing the spiritual work to know what our values are, what our beliefs are, I don't think we're able to show up as fully as we need to for our justice work. So I feel it's my job to make sure that I'm paying attention to where where we are as the congregation at large, but where individuals are when it comes to that work, when it comes to what sustain you in the dark, when it's quiet, when it's just you. What is it that you draw on for strength? So that has been my work, and that has been something that's always on my mind when I am not just in my congregation, but just in general, because I don't think that I can take off my minister's hat. I've come to feel like it's always on, and that's how I try to engage my work in the congregation. And as far as the community goes, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I feel, and I think as our UU values would demand that I pay attention to, I feel like, oh, especially over the past year, there has been really a lot of attack on folks of the trans community, LGBTQ plus community, and also on Black studies, Black people in general. And it is part of our work to pay attention to these things and do all that we can to support, to advocate in those areas. And one of the things the UU Ministers of Florida did is that we wrote an open letter um, that was also published in the papers, just speaking out as much as we can. If we are aware that there is a march or a rally, we make sure that we show up. You know, we try to partner with different communities here. So our work is, and I know one of the things you might ask me about is like, how do people um, volunteer with us? It's more us trying to find ways to connect with the communities, with agencies that are already doing the work. How do we support them? How do we volunteer with them?
With the church embracing a wide range of beliefs and backgrounds, how do you foster a sense of that unity and community amid such diversity?
Yeah, that is an excellent question because, yes, as I mentioned, you use command. I say you use, I apologize. That's just Unitarian Universalist shortcut. Unitarian Universalists, we have, our beliefs are varied, and then certain church congregations will have a certain culture, like a Christian culture, and another one may be completely atheist and so on. So, what it is that create a sense of community for us is our values. We believe in the worth and dignity of every single human being. There is no one that we consider outside of the human family. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to accept everything that someone does or that I have to be best friend with someone, but we have the understanding that everyone is part of the human family and therefore need to be treated as such. We are worthy, it's something we're born with. It's not something you have to earn. We also believe in that, as I mentioned earlier, also in the work that we need to do for spiritual growth and how we have a responsibility to one another to encourage us to do that work. And we also believe in the interconnectedness of every living things, right? So that means doing our best to take care of the planet, doing our best to leave as little footprint as we can, and to advocate for just the different justice work or the different injustices rather that is happening in the world. So all of those things connect us. It's we are very much aware that that is our work to advocate for those who are marginalized and understand the inherent worth and dignity of everyone. So even though the way we go about it, what sustains us spiritually may be different, we all know what our work is in the world. So that is what brings us together. And usually, in that sense, we are like-minded in that sense as far as the knowing that what is important, what is our work in the world. Yeah.
I definitely like that. And there are some churches that if you struggle, it's kind of like you're made to feel guilty because God didn't bless you because you did something wrong.
Right, right.
Everyone
And
struggles,
everyone
and it's not always
struggles.
their own fault or a
Right.
decision that they made.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, so they, it's like, oh, help someone who's this or that, but it's for your own benefit rather than helping them because they're struggling. It's not that they were not blessed by God.
Right.
It's that you're all unified as a community.
Exactly. And then, the thing is, no one has the answers, right? A lot of us, we are part of a particular faith because that's the one we were born in. Some of us are part of a particular faith because the oppressor brought it to our country or our communities, and so on. So nobody has the truth, and to impose my truth on someone else is so wrong and so unfair. But we all know that we're all human beings. We are all trying to figure it out. We are all looking for meaning. We all know what it means to be in pain. We all know what it's like to hurt and, to want something. And so our feelings are the same. So we, in that sense, we know how to engage one another. We know how to be in community, and one of the things that's also very important to us is relationships. It is, believe that in order to be a community, we have to be in good and healthy relationship with one another. And how we are also with the world, in good and healthy relationship with the world, with our neighbors, and so on. So, yeah.
All right, so we're going to end with you sharing a prayer with us, a prayer that perhaps if any of the viewers want to replay this because they need to hear it at that moment, it'll be here in the video.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for asking me to do that. I do enjoy being able to connect with people in that sense. I think that is a way for us to connect, for us to see what's going on with us. So, so if you can find a space to be as comfortable as you can be, maybe be 5% more comfortable than you are right now. Close your eyes if that feels good for you, or just have them at a slight gaze, looking ahead of you. Let's try to bring ourselves into the extraordinary, separating the ordinary things. They will be there for you when you're done with this prayer. Let's take a deep breath together. Let's take a second breath together. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of compassion, we invoke you right now as we go about our everyday life. We have no idea what the day holds for us. Help us to be the best that we can be today. Let us try to be our best selves today, understanding that there will be times during the day when we will mess up, and that's okay. Recognizing that and immediately making amends if we can. Let us remember to be open to our fellow human beings, navigating the space as we are. Let's be in touch with our hearts, with deep down inside, with what we are feeling inside of us, understanding as we are engaging other people that we have baggage that we are carrying with ourselves, with that impacts how we treat other people. So be mindful of that. Let us be aware that we are a blessing and that we bless other people. We, human beings, have the power to create and destroy one another every day. We create one another by building each other up, by providing the best service that we can in our work, in our lives, how we treat one another, because we can also destroy one another by not doing any of those things. Let us be mindful of that. Let us cherish the moments that we have with one another. Let us know that we are blessed and we are a blessing. May we have deep knowledge of this. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much for having me.
If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe to our channel and follow our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter accounts.